3, 2, 1, go.
So today I want to show you how to make a lantern, and this lantern is Sankt Martin's lantern. I have made this one with different kind of windows just to show you the possibilities. Of course you can create your own design, but having a design you can go off, it's at the beginning easier. Sankt Martin's is a celebration in Germany on November 11th, and children walk down the street with their lanterns as soon as it is dark outside, and they sing Sankt Martin's songs, Sankt Martin's Lieder. The lantern is symbolizing the goodness of people, because Sankt Martin, on a cold winter night, he shared his coat with a beggar who had nothing, and because of that coat he shared with the beggar survived the cold night. And afterwards, in a dream, Sankt Martin dreamt of Jesus, and Jesus thanked him for saving the beggar's life, because then he was sharing not only his coat with the beggar, but also with Jesus and all other people who were suffering. And that's one of my favorite celebrations, when all the children then walk around during the night or in the early evening when it's dark outside with their little lanterns and celebrate sharing with others. And now I show you what we will need.
2, 1, go.
Okay, so for the lantern you will need first craft paper. So you can, I already prepared the pattern here. The only thing you have to watch out, you can use different sizes, but of course the bottom needs to have a square face, so you can glue it together later easily. Then of course you need a pair of scissors. I use hot glue again because it's easier to apply and it's faster to settle. You can of course use normal glue as well. You need a pen to trace your patterns, and here I do have 4 different sides. Of course you can choose your own pattern, or you can also choose one of these only, so you have all 4 sides the same. What else would you need? You need a little electric light. These tea lights, they are perfect, and I know during the day you don't see them much, but in the night when it's dark outside it's easy enough to then see. Then you need a paper cutting knife. Make sure to have an adult supervising. They can be really sharp. Or you need a children's pair of scissors, depending how comfortable you are with the paper cutting knife. Then because I use the paper cutting knife, I use a metal ruler, ein Metalllineal, and because I don't want to cut the table, I use an old cutting board to put underneath the whole thing, so I can cut comfortably without damaging the table. And of course, to have colorful windows, I need tissue paper in different colors. You can choose 1 color, 2 colors, a rainbow of colors, verschiedene Farben, whatever colors you prefer. And then we need to actually hang our lantern later. I use a sturdy metal and bend it with little hooks on the side and the hook in the bottom, so I can hang it later on a stick.
3, 2, 1, go.
And of course, in the end you will need a little dowel, einen Holzstab, to be able to hang your lantern later. And I usually later fasten that with either tape so it doesn't slip off, or a little bit of floral wire, that it doesn't slip off. So now I will start cutting out my pattern. and make sure to have on one side those lashes where you can glue the whole thing together. And I just cut out the outside with a pair of scissors because that's a lot easier than using the paper knife for that part. And that will take a little bit of time. Also die Außenkanten ausschneiden von der Laterne. Dann das von der anderen Seite. Das ist einfacher. And make sure to keep the rest of the table because I'm pretty sure you can find other crafts to do with that leftover paper. So, to make sure it's easier to fold it later, I punch in small holes, which I should be able then to see from the other side. You can use a pin or a needle to do that, which just later makes it a lot easier to fold the paper. I turn it around, and with these little holes as a guideline, and of course the corners where I cut it, I don't cut it, I just scratch the surface. And you see, if I have scratched the surface, it's easy to fold the paper. If I don't scratch the surface, folding will be really, really tough. And especially here I have to watch out where those little holes are. So I can fold all my edges. And you see how easy it is to get straight lines folded if you scratch the surfaces before. It's so much better. And now I take my metal ruler and cut out the shapes of my patterns. And this time, of course, I want to cut completely through the material, and that's why I need a cutting board underneath so I do not scratch the table and damage the furniture. So hier mit dem Metalllineal die Formen ganz ausschneiden und bitte das Schneidebrett unter dem Papier nicht vergessen, sodass wir den Tisch nicht beschädigen. Querlinien. Sometimes it's easier to not press too hard in one go and rather go over the same line twice to cut it out, because otherwise sometimes it's really hard on your hands to try to cut it in one go. And it's usually, then you can flip out those little pieces of paper and either keep them for another craft if they're large enough, or discard them if they are too small. So depending on the skill with your cutting knife, those larger windows are easier patterns for a beginner than some of the other parts, which I'll show you a little bit later. So these forms here, they are so small that basically you have to cut them free by hand, and that can be a little bit more tricky. So make sure to have your hand holding the paper far away from the cutting knife, that you don't by accident cut yourself. And here getting the corners out is a little bit more difficult. So hier bitte auf die Finger aufpassen, dass die Hand, die das Papier hält, nicht zu nahe am Messer ist, damit niemand sich in den Finger schneidet. And if you hold the paper knife a little bit like a pencil, it's almost like drawing with a pencil. And just go over it 2 or 3 times to cut it out, then it should not be a problem to even get round shapes. There we go. Der nächste Kreis. The best patterns are usually if you have some kind of symmetry. So if you have a little, either flip the pattern from right to left or from the top to the bottom, because sometimes it's just more pleasing to have some sort of symmetry in your picture. There we go. So you see the square ones, they are a lot easier to cut out than the round patterns. So if you're not used to using a paper knife, cutting knife, then maybe go for straight lines first. And if you have triangles or squares, pattern can be whatever you like. Just make sure to have enough cardboard in between the patterns, so you have later enough material where you can glue your tissue paper to.
Three, two, one, go.
Okay, so to finish the windows, we can cut out for the small pictures, as you can see here, small pieces of the transparent paper. And for the large windows, we can also just cut out a big piece. And now I can use the regular glue and just line the edges of the windows. And don't use too much glue, you don't need much, but it should line all around the open parts. And then you can just gently line up the paper, and don't worry much if there is not straight edges on the side of that transparent paper. It will be inside of your lantern anyways, so it really doesn't matter too much. Don't cut it too big. For inside our lantern, I do have little cats here, and depending on how good you are in cutting out shapes, I usually like to cut out the major part first, makes cutting easier, and then you just cut out the little cat, so die Katze. So we can have a cat sitting in our window and again try to have the shape more or less along the picture. If it's a little bit on the inside or outside, it will not matter too much. So die Katze. And now I put the glue on top, and this time I will use a piece of paper, usually that's the simplest, to spread out the glue evenly so the cat is later attaching to the whole picture. And then I put my little cat in my window. And if you want to, you can have the second cat on the other side of your window. Just cut it out again. Die Katze ausschneiden. And if the tail is too difficult for you, just skip it and cut over it if that's too fine to cut out. And it's easier to use regular paper than craft paper because it's so much easier to cut. And you will not see the cats very well as long as the lantern is not lit from the outside. So you have to be patient and wait until it's finished to really see that shape through the window well. But as soon as you have a candle in your little lantern, you will be able to see the cats quite well. Pick it up so we don't get too sticky fingers and put it in. Okay, so you actually can see the cats already a little bit shining through the window. After we've done that, we make sure that we have our folds nicely creased, so die Kanten noch einmal gut falten. And then first time we just, oh, I forgot to fold this one. So you see how much easier it is to fold before. So now we can fold it around and if necessary adjust the ground, the bottom of our lantern a little bit if it doesn't fit. But it seems to be a reasonable good fit. So if we don't need to fix that, I can take my hot glue and just fill it up. And on this part have a nice little zigzag line, and it makes easier gluing. And then you can just fold it over and use the edge to line it up. Wait until it's set. Use the next edge. And with a nice little zigzag line, fold it over and have it set. And the last one. Fold it over and have it set. And you can grab inside and just press it down so it actually sticks. Of course, the last one, the long one, we are going again zigzag inside and fold it inside. If you lay it down, it's the easiest way to make sure it's aligned properly, and you can press it down, hold it a little bit until the glue sets. And you see I have a little corner here. I just take my pair of scissors and trim it off to have a straight line on top. Okay, so that's it. Now I need 2 holes, one on each side. Make sure it's fairly centered. If you don't have a pattern like I do where you can see the middle, then you have to measure it. But with the house, it's basically on top of this, and also with the window, it's on top of here. And just punch in little holes. Then you can take a sturdy wire and bend it about to the width of your lantern. Pull it through the holes, and either you take a pair of pliers or you squeeze it together a little bit, but it doesn't need to be too tight as long as it holds. I've prepared a little stick, and on the stick I put some floral wire, and with the floral wire I just put it around here, twist it a couple of times so it will hold securely, and twist it back. And then we have a little lantern, and we can open or turn on our tea light, put it in, and if we would turn off the light, I can show you with the light how it actually looks in the dark. So, and you can see the different sides if I turn it gently. And as I mentioned before, choose one pattern for your all 4 sides, or you can choose your own pattern and create your own. And then you have a nice lantern to walk around during the night. And I especially like my little cats.